freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
Several shots were fired as President Kennedy's motorcade passed through downtown Dallas.
None of us will ever forget this day. Yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world.
Houston, say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Welcome to the Hagmann Daily Show, weekdays 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And now your hosts, Joe Hagmann and Jon Robberson.
Hello and welcome to this Monday edition of the Hagmann Daily Show. We have a great show lined up for you today. It is Monday, August 6, 2018, and we have a whole bunch of stuff we're going to get into, starting with the huge news of InfoWars being banned across the board, not only on Facebook, but also by Apple, iTunes, and many others. This is a coordinated attack by the globalists, by the deep state, by the people who are the champions of silencing the opposition, silencing the truth, silencing your opinions, your statements, making your own. They make their own facts up, and then they have the nerve to turn around and to censor those. Not even censor. This is, not shadow banning. This is not demonetizing. This is not keeping your search results at a lower level. This is a complete removal of existence from many of the social media and internet platforms, which, iTunes, for instance, you that's through Apple. You do your show every day, and your show gets uploaded to iTunes, and it's a very easy way to download many shows. And Jones is one of the few shows I do download, along with Laura Ingraham and Michael Savage, and I don't get a chance to listen to it as much as I'd like. I do selectively watch some YouTube videos here and there. But anyway, the censorship, this coordinated attack by Apple, by Google, by Facebook, on InfoWars, on Alex Jones, removing and banning him and his news organizations from all social media platforms. Both companies claims that Jones violated the hate speech policies without citing any examples. And we're going to go through some of the news that is covering this today. As you can imagine, it is front and center on many of the news sites, from the Daily Caller to the Liberty Daily to Judge Report, and all over the place. But we're going to go to the Gateway Pundit, our friends Jim Hoft and Joe Hoft over there, and look at their coverage, because this is right on the money. Are tech giants working together to censor conservatives? Apple and Facebook ban of InfoWars on same day, says yes. Now, obviously, there's no coincidence. I got some clips to play for you on a Fox News broadcast that is really cringeworthy when dealing with the subject of censorship. They take it and address it from a standpoint that I believe is very dangerous, and that is that basically Alex Jones doesn't deserve to have an outlet, doesn't deserve to have access to be able to post on Facebook like the rest of us, because his ideas are so far out there, according to... Well, we'll take a listen, but here on the Gateway Pundit, are tech giants working together to censor conservatives? Apple and Facebook ban InfoWars on same day. Liberal tech giants Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube, and Wikipedia have all stepped up their harassment of conservative publishers since the 2016 election. The far-left Democrats understand that conservatives get their news from online publishers. And this is where the Gateway Pundit did a really good job, because they have a report that they have been putting together detailing not only how their organization, the Gateway Pundit, but also other organizations in the alternative media have been basically put in the far corner of the basement of Facebook, losing up to 90 to 95% of their audience. People who already went on Facebook, had an account, clicked to follow these organizations. They can't even reach their own followers. I don't know how many people watch the Mark Dice videos, but he does a good job with a lot of stuff on YouTube that he puts together. But one of the interesting things that he showed is how he's demonetized constantly. And they know his audience patterns, and that his videos get the most views within the first 30 hours of them being out, probably the first 12 hours. So they demonetize the videos for those first 10, 24 hours. And then after everybody pretty much has seen the video, they'll go ahead and monetize it again. But this Gateway Pundit piece shows that, one, since the election, Gateway Pundit has found traffic analysis that Facebook has eliminated 93% of traffic to top conservative websites. Yes, you heard that right. 93% of traffic. Twitter is shadow banning and censoring conservative lawmakers and conservative publishers. Wikipedia is controlled by far-left editors who regularly accused of liberal bias. YouTube is shutting down conservative pages and demonetizing several others. And again, as Gateway Pundit June study of top conservative news outlets found that Facebook has eliminated 93% of the traffic to conservative sites. What are these sites? You have the Gateway Pundit, you have the Daily Caller, Breitbart, Conservative Treehouse, others. There's many more. But Facebook began this in this conservative fight, or this fight against the truth, the fight against conservatism, the fight against free speech. You know what really boggles my mind? We saw the New York Times editor, under that lady, who is on the New York Times editorial board. I can't remember her name at the moment, but I'll find it. She has been, using Twitter to launch these racist tweets against white people, against cops, these hateful tweets. Some are racist. Most are just hateful and just crazy. But this is supposed to be the most prestigious newspaper in America, in American history. And they are on the front lines calling for InfoWars to be banned. Yet, listen to what some of their own people say. And look at this. This is from the Huffington Post. Facebook removes Alex Jones and InfoWars pages, finally. Facebook booted 4 Alex Jones and InfoWars pages from its platform. The company said Monday. The Alex Jones channel, the Alex Jones page, the InfoWars page, and the InfoWars Nightly News page were removed for violating Facebook's policies on graphic violence and hate speech, the company said. Last week, Facebook removed 4 videos from Jones-affiliated pages and placed Jones on an administrative page on a 30-day lock. However, the other administrators continued posting content on the pages, like you're supposed to do. Anyway, it goes on to say, while much of the discussion around InfoWars has been related to false news, which is a serious issue that we are working to address by demoting links marked wrong by fact checkers and suggesting additional content, none of the violations that spurred today's removals were related to this, according to Facebook. Jones is a conservative radio host and a conspiracy theorist who, among other things, claimed the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre was a hoax. Now, I don't know that that's true or not. I have not heard, his breakdown of Sandy Hook. But, we do have the right to ask questions, especially when the police don't, and the people in charge are not giving answers. Example, the final report was issued by the Las Vegas Sheriff's Department, and they have no idea what the motive is. Still, 10, 11 months out. Now, if we go on the radio, some people have speculated that the guy was a gun runner. Other people have speculated that it was an ISIS-related terrorist attack, as ISIS took credit for it. Other people have speculated that, there was an attack on conservatives because of the crowd that was targeted. But we don't have that piece of information from the police, from the FBI. And are we at a point now where asking questions, like on 9/11, asking about Building 7, being called a truther, are we at a point now where that's going to become illegal? We know these people will suppress anything they do not agree with, because they don't have winning arguments. They don't have the truth. They don't have credibility. They don't have anything on their side. It's all lies and propaganda dressed up on, in pretty suits and nice TV sets. That's all they have. They have nothing as far as an argument, nothing as far as a solution. Their only goal is to remove President Trump and everybody who follows or supports him, follows and or supports him. And, if you're a Christian, if you can think for yourself, and I wish I had the clip handy, Chris Cuomo, he was complaining the other day on one of his broadcasts that, these people just won't accept what we tell them. They won't accept it. We can't change their minds, and they won't accept it. Well, let's just get rid of them. Let's ban them. But let me tell you something. They're opening a can of worms that I'm not sure they are ready to open. What do I mean by that? Well, there are people who are fighting back in many different ways. Lawsuits are one. And the Sandy Hook thing, I don't know what happened there. That whole situation was one of the weirdest things ever. From what I understood, no ambulances were able to go in there. You had the medical examiner who was acting all kooky and weird. The whole story was off. You had a guy who was arrested in camouflage in the woods next to the school with a gun, who turned out to be a police officer from another jurisdiction, who was arrested and put in the back of the car. There were so many unanswered questions about Sandy Hook. Now, I'm not claiming it did or didn't happen. I have no idea. But something is wrong when you see people who are asking questions. And when you see this, Sandy Hook is Jones calls Sandy Hook a hoax. Well, this is like Snopes. What part of Sandy Hook did he call a hoax? Or did he call the whole thing a hoax? It doesn't matter. It's free speech. He's being sued in a court of law right now because of his claims that this was a hoax, the emotional damage of the family, apparently. But here, let's do this. I'm gonna press the pause button on myself, and I'm going to play this clip from Fox Business. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this. I don't agree with what this person says. There's very little as far as mainstream news media's videos or commentary on this specific issue. This is the only thing I could find so far up until this point. Now, I'm going to play this, and again, I don't agree with what this lady says. She says a lot of things, but we'll go over them piece by piece. Let's listen to this.
Book announcing it's removing 4 pages belonging to Alex Jones for, quote, violating our hate speech and bullying policies. This follows Apple's move to erase Alex Jones' InfoWars podcast from its iTunes library. Then on to Twitter, suspending conservative commentator Candace Owens for her response to a set of anti-white tweets by a New York Times editorial board member. The social media site Twitter later issuing an apology, but never once taking aim at the New York Times staffer for the original tweet. Joining me now, Jessica Tarloff, Fox News contributor, and Matt Brainerd, Republican strategist, former Trump campaign data and strategy director, and Look Ahead America executive director. Jessica, let me start with you. Again, if you notice, I've noticed on Twitter just in the last couple of weeks that all the Trump supporters have a big red X next to their name to basically highlight what they see as censorship of conservative content on Twitter.
I've noticed that too. It took me a couple days to figure out what the X's meant.
But again, it does make a statement.
Oh, it definitely does. And like Dem socialists with the wilting flower, it's interesting when you see these trends happen like that. I think it's a very serious issue that we certainly should be talking about. I think there's a difference between what went on with Alex Jones and what went on with Candace Owens here. They certainly made a mistake, and obviously their algorithms picked up what.
All right, let's stop it there real quick. I want to add some of my commentary here. You have this story of Candace Owens. Now, you can go on Hagmann Report. I have the story up there on the front page of Hagmann Report. Now, I mentioned the New York Times editorial board member who was launching those tirades of racist tweets. And I guess what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Hagmann Report myself so I got the proper information. Now, Candace Owens, what she did was took some of those messages by the New York Times editor and she copied and pasted them and changed one word. where it said something like, white people are BS. She changed the word white to black. She's a black lady. What'd they do? They suspended her account immediately. Immediately. Twitter suspends Candace Owens, then says it was an error after backlash. This from the Daily Caller. Twitter suspended conservative commentator Candace Owens on Sunday for imitating New York Times editorial board member Sarah Young anti-white tweets, but restored Owens' account access following a backlash on social media. Owens, the communication director for conservative activist group Turning Points USA on Saturday, sent on a pair of tweets quoting Young's anti-white sentiments, which did not earn her a Twitter suspension, but swapped out the word white with Jewish and black. Twitter on Sunday suspended Owens' account for 12 hours, citing her new tweet about Jewish people as a violation of Twitter rules. Anyway, they went back and understood what it was she was trying to do, and her point obviously was made because she was restored. Now, back to the audio report. Let's go on and listen.
Candace was doing, and she was making a point that I think does need to be made about Sarah Young's tweets, which apparently go back to 2012, even. It wasn't just the latest rash. As for Alex Jones, and I don't know if you saw last week that he's actually suing parents whose child died in Sandy Hook for $100,000 to help him cover legal fees. That family was forced to move 6 or 7 times because of the fact that Alex Jones was not only spreading lies about them. He said that they were child actors there, but releasing information as to where they live. So they haven't been safe, and they've been moving with their daughter, who's the same age. She was a twin with their son that died. So there's a little bit of a difference there.
All right, real quick. There's more to this video. What is this lady talking about? There's a Sandy Hook family who still feels in danger to the point that they're still moving? The only people who have been talking about Sandy Hook for the last few years are the people who don't like other people's opinions about it. Anyway.
I think that very often when you see companies shutting down a podcast like with Apple and what Facebook did, Matt, it's they're covering their you-know-whats because of legal liability in some instances. That's my go-to thought. But I will say in terms of the treatment of conservatives broadly.
All right, before she gets to that treatment of broad conservatives, you see how she worked that in there, that little propaganda piece? Well, they're just doing this to cover their technical third-party, legal liabilities. You know what? That's BS. That is not true at all. And if it was true, we would see so much more ban. How come CNN is not just permabanned for their false stories, for their lies, for their propaganda? Literally, the mainstream media goes on TV every day, 24 hours a day. Over 90% of the coverage of Trump, negative. Over 90% of the coverage on Trump, lies. Yet, when they are called on it, when they are told to their face, not only by the people who support this president and this country, but by the president himself, that they're the enemy of the people. You have Jim Acosta, crying and whining. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, just say it. Say we're not the enemy. Say we're not the enemy, Sarah. And if you guys listen to the show Friday, we played that clip. It's so good. I want to play it again. Sarah Huckabee Sanders just went on a verbal just sparring with Jim Acosta and really put her in her place, Sarah Huckabee Sanders put Jim Acosta, in her place. And as I said Friday, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, probably the best press secretary I've ever seen in my life. And this is exactly why. Now, I'm not going to play this whole clip, but let's go to past Jim Acosta's grandstanding, past the interruptions.
The media resorts to personal attacks without any content other than to incite anger. The media has attacked me personally on a number of occasions, including your own network, said I should be harassed as a life sentence, that I should be choked. ICE officials are not welcomed in their place of worship, and personal information is shared on the internet. When I was hosted by the Correspondents Association, of which almost all of you are members of, you brought a comedian up to attack my appearance and call me a traitor to my own gender. In fact, as I know, as far as I know, I'm the first press secretary in the history of the United States that's required Secret Service protection. The media continues to ratchet up the verbal assault against the president and everyone in this administration, and certainly we have a role to play, but the media has a role to play for the discourse in this country as well.
And sir, if you don't mind, if I may follow up, excuse me, you did not say in the course of those remarks that you just made that the press is not the enemy of the people. Are we to take it from what you just said? We all get put through the ringer. We all get put in the meat grinder in this town, and you're no exception. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. I wish that had not happened. But for the sake of this room, the people who are in this room, this democracy, this country, all the people around the world are watching what you're saying, Sarah, and the White House for the United States of America, the President of the United States should not refer to us as the enemy of the people. His own daughter acknowledges that, and all I'm asking you to do, Sarah, is to acknowledge that right now and right here.
I appreciate your passion. I share it. I've addressed this question. I've addressed my personal feelings. I'm here to speak on behalf of the president. He's made his comments clear. Go ahead.
How good was that? After she put him through a truth bomb, he went on to push the issue further. Sarah, you did not agree with me that we're not the enemy of the American. He took a question that could have been asked in 5 words and stretched it out for 45 seconds. This guy, I know President Trump has an ego on him. I know that bothers a lot of people. But what about the ego? What about the grandstanding of Acosta? Is the self-righteousness? Who do these people think they are? Of course you're the enemy of the people. You're not only working against the president, working against his agenda, which is trying to restore, capitalism in this republic that we once had, is trying to restore some of the things that made this country great. And he's being fought at every turn. He's being called a racist. He's being they're saying to attack his fans, his supporters, his co-workers, his appointees. They are doing any and everything they can to get him out of office. Lies every single day. And then when they're called on it, when they are told what they really are, which is the enemy of not only truth, not only of the American people, but as Lou Pat sat in for Michael Savage Friday and said, they're the enemy of humanity. So Acosta goes on and grandstands, and she says that I've made my point clear, and the president has stated very clearly how he feels. And how was that? That, Jim, you are a terrible journalist, if you even want to call yourself a journalist, and even worse, blowhard. But you are the enemy of the American people. Now, that's not calling for violence. That's not, that's the truth of the matter. Now, I'll tell you what, just like I would tell anybody, the moment that you people stop lying, the moment you stop with your incessant, socialist, communist, pedophilia, abortion-loving narrative and start telling the truth, you won't be the enemy anymore. But you can't do that, can you? Either because you are brainwashed or you get paid too much and you don't want to lose your job. But this is a big story, again, the censorship of InfoWars, as Apple, Facebook, all in a coordinated attack. As Drudge Report says, regulates hate. Apple regulates hate. And this goes to a CNBC piece. Let's see, hopefully, they got a lot more in there than they did earlier. Goes on to say, Facebook, Apple, YouTube remove pages and podcasts from the Alex Jones Show for hate speech and policy violations. And as Paul Joseph Watson said on his tweet, they did not even cite an example. Apple says this: Apple does not tolerate hate speech, and we have clear guidelines that creators and developers must follow to ensure we provide a safe environment for all of our users. an Apple spokeswoman said Monday. Podcasts that violate these guidelines are removed from our directory, making them no longer searchable or available for download or streaming. We believe in representing the wide range of views, so long as people are respectful of those with differing opinions. You see the hypocrisy there? As long as we believe in representing a wide range of views, so long as people are respectful to those with differing opinions. What is that? Is that a joke? That's the opposite of what you do. You censor any and everybody who supports the president, who's a Christian, who's a conservative, who's against abortion, who's against socialism. You promote those people who promote hate. And then you have the gall to come out and issue a statement like this. The American people aren't buying it. Now, I heard Alex say in a really, he started doing some live broadcasts. I heard him say that he has already launched a lawsuit or is suing these companies, and he's going to have a good case. This article goes on to say, Facebook, after it announced this, it was removing 4 of the Joneses' pages for persistently uploading content in a breach of the social network's content guidelines. The company said it made the decision after receiving additional complaints about inappropriate content on Jones's pages. The pages were removed for glorifying violence. You know what it was? It was videos of violence, unprovoked violence against Trump supporters. It wasn't him advocating violence. It wasn't him promoting violence. It wasn't him being violent. Anyways, it goes on. The pages were removed for glorifying violence, which violates our graphic violence policy, and using dehumanizing language to describe people who are transgendered, Muslims, and immigrants, which violates our hate speech policies. The decision was made independently of any other companies removing content from their sites, a Facebook spokesperson said. Yeah, it's just a coincidence that, Apple, iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, Google, Spotify, all on the same day announce they're dropping Alex Jones. They're censoring InfoWars. But they even say, hey, this was not, our decision was our own, and we did not, coordinate with any of these other companies. Just the fact that you had to say that alone. Anyway, in July, Facebook removed 4 of Jones' videos and hit his own personal profile with a 30-day ban, which is what the firm deemed as a violation of its policies on bullying and hate speech. Now, again, going over what they said was his penalties, his crimes, the inappropriate content. 1, they said he's glorifying violence. Okay. He doesn't glorify violence. But he is very clear, these people who are destroying the country, these people who are destroying this nation, the laws that were set up, the economy, the people, the spirit, the whole thing, that they would be met in self-defense. He says things that are a little bit outlandish, but so what? I've never heard him once say, everybody go get this guy, or... It's ridiculous. It's not like, Maxine Waters or any of the thousands of other deranged anti-Trump, anti-truth people out there. They don't remove their pages. They don't remove their posts. They don't ban their speech. What did he say about immigrants that was so dehumanizing? That illegal immigrants are breaking the law? That we shouldn't have open borders? What did he say about Muslims? That they are coming here and the terror attacks increase, the likelihood of terror attacks increase. Look what's happened to the UK and Germany, all of Europe for having its open borders policy. You have no-go zones. You have huge increases in sexual assaults and rapes. I mean, I'm not even going to get into, I don't even have to defend that. It's everybody who's paying attention knows. Now, it goes on to say, the company explained Monday that when it deleted the content, the removal counts as a strike, essentially a warning against the person that uploaded it. In the case of pages, Facebook said it holds both a page and an administrator who posts content in violation of its rules accountable. But it was also said that the reason for removing Jones' pages was in no way related to concerns over fake news. All 4 pages have been unpublished for repeated violations of community standards and accumulating too many strikes. You know what I want? Show me the example. It's interesting when YouTube, if you upload a video that has something, copyright content inside there, about an hour after you upload it, you're going to get an email and a notification on your channel. It's going to tell you that you used copywritten material without permission. It's going to show you on your own video the minute and second marker where you did it, and it's going to compare it to the original. One thing that's missing from all this, other than the Sandy Hook excuse, are the examples. What did he say about Muslims? What did he say about immigrants? What is this hateful content? Where's the glorifying of violence? How come all these people can rattle off all these things, all these, alleged problems, but never show the examples? It's very interesting how that works. Now, we've been getting a lot of emails about this, and we know it's a matter of time before our shows, our social media posts, our YouTubes, etc., will be, further suppressed, removed at some point, maybe. But what is so fascinating and troubling about this, out of all the people who are on YouTube, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, and Facebook, what? They had the huge stock drop about 10 days ago because they had a very bad second quarter report on new users. But at some point you have to understand that pretty much everybody who has access to the internet in the world has an account, and the other half of the people don't even have the internet. At some point you're going to run out of new users. But they lost, like $120 billion in one day, the biggest stock loss in history. And they haven't been banning, except for conservatives, they don't have any problem with hate speech. How many, in the violence thing, this is what gets me. You know how many fight videos or crazy acts of violence I have seen on YouTube every day? All the news sites that I peruse through on a daily basis, there's at least one at one website that says, has a video of some kind of crazy incident with a person and police officers or some citizens. But either way, you could go on YouTube in front of your computer right now, and you could watch fight videos till you couldn't stay awake anymore for as long as you wanted, and you still wouldn't even have put a dent in the amount of violence that is on YouTube. What this is, it's obviously a targeted attack to try to delegitimize and stop Alex Jones and his followers from being able to access him. But guess what? This is how this works. I wonder, does CNN, do these people think, these people who have been advocating for this to happen, for this to be shut down, do these people think that because Jones is no longer on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, that people are going to forget about him and start watching their channel again? Absolutely not. If anything, more people are going to go and they're going to seek him out on his own websites, on his own where he is able to broadcast. And there will be companies who are very willing and happy to have him as a customer. Do you think this is not going to... If anything, you're turning Jones and everything that he says into a martyr. He is going to be the example. He is going to be the test case for this whole, basically what we should call the Antifa mentality, the Trump derangement syndrome, and how the censorship battle plays out in a court of law. Look at over the weekend. In Chicago, 63 people shot over the weekend. 63! You had riots or the Patriot Prayer Group in Portland was holding a rally. But guess what? If you listen to the news, you would think that they were the reason for the problems of violence at their rallies. We did our Patreon broadcast last night and I'll explain what that is here in a few minutes. It's for people who are Patreon donors to the Hagmann Report of $25 or more a month. Every first Sunday of the month, we sit down at 7 o'clock for a few hours, and it's a big round table with everybody who donates at that $25 level. And we had our monthly meeting yesterday. Now, we were talking about this a little bit because it's so funny to watch this, and I'm sure people were paying attention at least throughout the weekend. If you remembered that these groups were talking, Antifa was saying, arm yourself and get out there. They were expecting some fireworks. And CBS, without fail, I'm looking for it right now, the article, and I know it's here somewhere. I'm getting close. Okay. They twisted this into making it, obviously, not about Antifa, not about the people who did not have a permit, who only came there to commit violence. That's all they do. And what they do is they twist it around and they try to make it seem like it was the fault of the Patriot group. And I can't find the headline here, so I'm going to go into my history from yesterday. Oh, you know what? I got two computers in front of me because I got a cracked screen on one. So I bet it's on this other computer. But what they have, the way they reported this, and there was a few incidents, not only in Portland, but also in Berkeley, at Berkeley yesterday, yesterday or Saturday, I'm not sure which, but there was violence that was committed by the same groups, these Antifa groups, against another group who was, holding a march or whatever. But CBS, here it is. All right. CBS's awful coverage of the Portland violence. CBS tries to blame Portland violence on Trump supporters. Here, you know what? I got to figure out how to, okay. I can pull it up on this computer. See, I got two computers in front of me, and I did not pull this story up on the one that has the sound I can play through it. So I'll pull it up here on by the title, and you can listen to this for yourself. It's worth it, because what they do, they don't mention until the very end of the report that the right-wing group is the Patriot Prayer Group. But they are trying to say that a alt-right rally that was held in Portland got violent on Saturday. But they make it sound as though it's the fault of not Antifa, but the Trump supporters. All right, here it is. This is only like a minute clip.
In Portland, Oregon, a massive demonstration by a right-wing group turned violent. Police used tear gas to break up several small scuffles between the group and some anti-fascists. Tensions were high as an officer tried to take a sign away from a woman. He ended up shoving her to the ground. When she got up and ran away, she was swarmed by several other officers. There are reports that several people were injured. Jennifer Dowling of our CBS affiliate KOIN is there.
We're in downtown Portland, where we've been following members of Antifa that have just marched down here to meet up with members of Patriot Prayer.
Proud boys off our streets, fascists, retreat!
However, police here are not taking any chances on this. They are dressed in their SWAT gear. They have said, "We are not messing around." You can see police here charging protesters who would not comply with orders to disperse. They made some arrests.
Observed protesters throwing projectiles, including rocks and bottles.
Police also confiscated weapons and shot tear gas and flash grenades to break up the protesters. There were members that were not affiliated with Antifa, with this group. They simply do not believe in the Patriot Prayer Group, which has been associated with the alt-right.
The pedestrian crossings are closed.
Has been associated with the alt-right. Give me a break. Notice how they didn't say anything about they talked about Antifa, the anti-fascist, which is the biggest. I mean, I don't have to rehash this stuff with you. As Winston Churchill, as George Orwell and others have said, the fascists of the future will claim to be anti-fascist. And that's what they are. They are the big... Paul Joseph Watson did a great video. I watched it with my wife yesterday, I believe it was, just to give her some context into this whole thing. And he made the greatest video, I don't know how long ago, about Antifa, and showcasing how how hypocritical these people were. In one instance, he showed these guys who came with their signs about, no hate this, no hate that. And then they showed those same people standing with their no hate signs as they were using the signs to beat people who they didn't agree with what they were saying or what they were doing in the at this rally or whatever. It's really funny though. But the whole thing's a joke, right? I mean, really, does Alex Jones deserve to be banned across the board? YouTube, Facebook? I'm sure we could find 100,000 examples of people who've posted content who are, and obviously Jones has been doing this for a long time. He's been a journalist. He's been a reporter. He's had his own network and InfoWars for a long time. He has more listeners, excuse me, than CNN in their best that they could ever hope for. He has that many listeners on a slow day. Do you think that has something to do with it? You think it's because they're losing the argument of in the public debate? They see that the number of Hispanics who are supporting Trump is increasing exponentially. They see the number of African Americans who are now supporting Trump is increasing exponentially. And I believe it's either being underreported or people, they're obviously doing their selective polling, because I'm going to tell you something. From what I've been noticing, it seems like there are a lot more people are getting very frustrated with what they're seeing, who might have otherwise remained silent about their political beliefs. But a lot more people seem to be okay with Trump. They see the media for what it is. The lying, hypocritical, constant. They're like a nagging old. I'm not going to compare them to anything. Look, we all know what these people are. The enemy of the American people. These people are spiritually, emotionally, mentally deceived and morally bankrupt in every way possible. They support nothing of any goodness, no righteousness at all. What do they support? Impeaching President Trump because they don't like him as a person, and they definitely don't like his followers and his agenda. They've weaponized the intelligence agencies under Obama and bought and paid for and created an investigation in order to find a crime. And here we are over a year in and nothing. But they move on like he's already been found guilty. Isn't it amazing their attitude of every piece of new news that comes out? Well, this is what's going to do it, there's no way Trump's going down. Every day I read it on comment sections and internet forums and message boards. These people, they every piece of news is like the end of Trump's presidency. And then nothing happens, and they're on to the next thing, never to talk about again, or even worse, they'll use their false information as examples, like the people who use Paul Manafort and his charges of tax evasion from years before he ever worked on Trump's campaign, and they somehow, through that logical fallacy, try to connect it to the Russia investigation, as though it proves that there was collusion between President Trump and Russia in the election. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. Now, over the weekend, the president went on put a number of tweets out about the Mueller investigation, and rightfully so. He said, "End the witch hunt." And all the little media pundits went, last week was the people were in rare form. The media was in rare form. From the Acosta-Huckabee exchange, which, you have these liberals out there saying Huckabee should be shunned from all humanity and society when she leaves the White House press corps. No company should hire her. She should be shunned. Is that the exact words that this person used? It's just unbelievable. And I know I'm all over the place now here, kind of rambling, but back to what we were talking about with the censorship. You have the political violence that happened in Portland and in Berkeley. And I just played you that CBS clip. And what did they say? Violence breaks out at an alt-right, a group that is associated with or knows somebody who's a member of the quote-unquote alt-right. It is so obvious. You can see right through. The way we've been in this groove for a while now with the media and their hysterics. Before I finish reading their sentence to their arguments, my mind already tells me what's wrong, where the lies are, and what they did to twist it to make it, sound the way they want it to. I don't know about you guys, but it's like I don't even have to think about it anymore. You can see right through it. The media has a lower approval rating than Congress, or close. But they are going to take they're going to try to take the moral high ground. They're going to act like the victims while calling for the censorship, while calling for the violence, while calling for the impeachment, while calling for socialism, while calling for open borders, while calling for abortions on demand, while calling for kids to be transgendered. And then they're going to turn around and say, we're the haters? We're the violent ones? It's like the Twilight Zone. We say it all the time. And I'm sorry, I got to take a sip here. I got like a frog in my throat. But I don't think we finished listening to that Fox News report on the censorship. And remember, she just got done talking about the justifying how they had to do this. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, they had to do this for their legal liability. They had to ban Jones. That's what they just got finished saying, so we'll pick it up right there. Oop.
That's my go-to thought. But I will say, in terms of the treatment of conservatives, broadly speaking, looking at the Candace Owens situation, it actually fuels the Trump base because they do feel like they're being silenced. And it actually makes them more. I was talking to Lee Carter, and Lee's going to get into this as the show moves on. But you look at she was testing these rallies, and people are more devoted to Trump than ever before. What say you, Matt?
Yeah, I think the real question here is, who's going to be next? Because at least in Alex Jones's case, the language that they used was that, it was hate speech. And that's a very broad term, and it's not really clear on any given day what that means to these tech companies. It's important to remember that personnel is policy, and stacked from the bottom to the top of the corporate leadership, department heads of all these tech companies, they are hardcore leftists. And if this is just the first example of them censoring somebody or going after somebody, it just makes me wonder who's next, whose unfavorable opinions will be targeted next for deplatforming by Apple or any one of these other large social media companies. Will it be people who oppose illegal immigration or question the latest on gender politics or pro-lifers? I mean, at what point does it cross that quote-unquote hate speech line, especially when they're relying on far-left organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center to define exactly what hate speech is, which would include this network here?
Well, Matt, what I'm saying is that actually that the outrage at these social media sites is actually, it somehow, in an upside-down world, it works to the candidate's benefit. It works to President Trump's benefit. The laziness of many people in television media, because it's easier to accuse President Trump of having lost his mind or being deranged or being mentally ill than to actually do policy work and understand, say, his trade policy. What I'm saying is the outrage generated by these social media platforms and trying to censor.
And again, I apologize for this Fox News clip, or I'm sorry, Fox Business News clip, because they usually do a very good job, and I found myself I played that a few times before we came on air, and these people they're just as bad as the other ones, because these people are pretending to be on your side while telling you, basically having the same sentiments, just twisting it in a different wording as to why they have to, why it's justifiable that, and not understanding that they themselves are on the chopping block. I mean, at what point? I mean, Jones, yes, it was much more colorful than mainstream media. Used some foul language, was very passionate, is very passionate, but that's not what got him banned. What he was saying is not what got him banned. It's the persuasion that he has. It is the fact that MSNBC and CNN combined on their best day couldn't reach half the people Jones does on all these platforms. It's also for what he stands for. And we don't have to keep going over this over and over again, but this is a big deal. We talk about this a lot. What's next? How's this censorship going to play out? How's it going to look? Well, when we say it's going to get much worse, this is nothing. Wait till you can't access his. Wait till he can't send out or post anything on any website, because nobody will host his website till his ISP is banned. You don't think that's coming? No, it is. But first, it's going to go probably a little bit slower. We're going to see these people are these control freaks, these satanic elite control freaks, are going to go and keep doing what they were doing. I mean, they banned SGT Report on YouTube, but he was, through a lot of public support, able to get them to reinstate it. They've done this with numerous people and organizations. Some of them get reinstated, a lot of them don't. And what is the rhyme or reason for that? Now, there is more up here on Drudge. Facebook strips InfoWars, crackdown intensifies. YouTube's remove. Tech giants working together to block conservatives. Want user financial data from bank. Next, pressure to ban climate deniers. Let's see what this one says. Facebook, well known as a breeding ground for misinformation, has a particular problem with disseminating false and misleading messages about climate change science. The platform spreads climate-denying videos and other posts, hosts climate-denying ads, and officially partners with climate-denying media outlets and organizations. Now, what is this climate-denying that we are hearing of, we're hearing them say? What is climate denying? Well, let's see. These are people who don't agree with the liberal Al Gore, global warming is going to kill us all in 10 minutes if we don't, stop with our carbon emissions and using coal, and we don't, tax cow farts. And I'm not making that up. That's a serious thing. It's all lies. It's junk science. One thing that's great about science is it's never settled, because it's even Einstein's, his laws of relativity and gravity. Yes, those are laws, but they've went much further with those. Now they're into the dark matter and all this other stuff. But Obama, he always tried to say, this is settled science. But guess what? It wasn't even science. The people were manipulating the numbers. You had the people from the government website, what was it, NOAA, got caught fudging the temperature data to make it look warmer than it was, when actually we were in a cooling period for like 10 years compared to what they tried to say. I think it was like 2.5 degrees on average. They manipulated the weather to make it look like it was hotter than it was. I mean, literally. Provable fact that they manipulated and changed the data intentionally to make the situation look like it's something it wasn't. Then they turn around and say, if you deny this, you are next. We're coming after you. You're spreading climate-denying videos. Anyway, this article goes, this is from Media Matters, if that hasn't been made clear. A recent video promoting false arguments against climate change science got more than 5 million views on Facebook, The Guardian's Dana Natelli reported last week. The video, posted in June by the Daily Signal, an arm of the right-wing Heritage Foundation, is titled, Why Climate Change is Fake News, featuring Mark Morano, a longtime spokesperson and blogger for Climate Denial Cause, who outlines 3 things that the left gets wrong about climate change. Natelli points out that all 3 are common and easily debunked myths. I haven't read this article yet, so we're going to learn together what is so obvious to these people. It goes on to say, fortunately, to the exposure of Marano's misinformation is not as bad as it seems at first blush. Although Facebook implies the video has been viewed over 5 million times, a view is counted after just 3 seconds, and videos on the site play automatically. Nevertheless, the video has been shared over 75,000 times, so it certainly has reached a wide audience. Facebook needs to come to terms with the fact that there is an objective reality. Even if Mark Moran sincerely believes humans aren't causing global warming, that belief is false, and by continuing to host this myth-filled video, Facebook is misinforming tens of thousands, perhaps even millions of its users. Now, this is a perfect example of everything that we're talking about, only it's about the climate debate. These people are so mentally, I don't even want to say retarded, because the people who are actually mentally retarded are much better, kinder, smarter people than what I'm talking about. These people, from the people who create these narratives, to the people who disseminate it, to the people who read it, to those who buy into it and believe it, I don't know. Again, I go back to the spiritual thing. So I kind of back off a little bit, because my brain tells me these people are out to lunch and they're never coming back, as this climate story shows us. They're saying this video that they say is wrong because it says man-made global warming isn't real or as bad as they say it is, these people need to be banned. The video goes on to claim that the global warming hoax is the biggest fraud in history, which features a rant by a climate-denying retired businessman that has gotten 2 million views on Facebook. Anyway, this whole article is one big... This is how the things with InfoWars started. You get something that gets on Media Matters. It gets disseminated to the liberal organizations. They put their own spin and their own creativity pieces into it, and they publish it. This is like what we saw with the QAnon last week. What a coincidence that everywhere from Huffington Post to Newsweek to NBC to MSNBC to every single liberal news organization on the web did a hit piece all on the same day about QAnon and how he was a fringe, a right-wing conspiracy group that promotes a conspiracy theory that there's child pedophilia going on in Hollywood. Anyway, this article on global warming goes out to say that in an interview with Recode, published on July 18th, Facebook founder Zuckerberg said, Facebook shouldn't remove content just because it's wrong, using the example of Holocaust denial. He said it's just deeply offensive, but I don't believe that our platform should take that down because I think there are things that different people get wrong, and I don't think they're intentionally getting it wrong. Zuckerberg went further to clarify his views, saying, "Our goal with fake news is not to prevent anyone from saying something untrue, but to stop fake news and misinformation spreading across our services. If something is spreading and is rated false by fact checkers, it would lose the vast majority of its distribution in the news feed." Now, who are these fact checkers? Guess what? They're the same people that come up with the lies that they feed to us and try to shove down our throats. And we've talked about this, the Snopes model. Did Hillary Clinton have an illegal, server in her closet? False. And then you go read the article. What was false about it? Well, the server wasn't in the closet, it was in the bathroom. But they worded it in a way where they tried to debunk it. And then you have these other, people who, and organizations who jump right on and say, yes, this is the truth. The whole fact-checking thing is the whole atmosphere of our news media is so insane. But thankfully, the majority of people know it's a lie. I can't believe we're out of time already, folks. It's been a great show. If you can support the show, PayPal.me/Joe Hagmann. There's a link in the Blog Talk description. We could really use your support. John's not going to be with me anymore doing the show. We got to congratulate him. He got a job offer. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We're out of time. Have a great day.
The Hagmann Daily Show is brought to you by the Hagmann Report. Tune in to the Hagmann Report weekdays, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information, go to HagmannReport.com. That's HagmannReport.com.